Hi, this is Zach May with the US stock highlights here on Share Talk for Thursday, the 8th of April. Starting off with American Virtual Cloud, where we've had this gap through the 50-day moving average. That's versus the $6.75 level, and while we're above that on an end-of-day close basis, looking towards the top of that rising trend channel from June last year, as high as $10 as soon as the end of next month. In terms of the money management, I suppose initial April resistance around $6.10 is the place at the moment for that, and also for judging that the rebound is not going to have legs. Looking on to another stock which is looking quite decent in terms of recovery. Here we've got 180 Life Sciences. We broke through the old resistance, mid-February resistance there at $7.67. I suppose we had a bull trap through that at the end of last month, but on this occasion it looks successful. And at least while there's no end-of-day close back below today's initial low at $8.01, we're looking towards the top of the rising trend channel from back in, this time last year at $14.80. And that could be seen as soon as the end of next month if we're really lucky by the end of this month. But obviously we need to see whether we can have sustained price action over the next week or so above the $10 level and late March resistance. Another stock which is relatively obscure as far as the US stock highlights is concerned. Most of the stocks today have been rarities, let's say. Here we've got APRE Therapeutics, and the reason for the inclusion today, after that horrible, nasty gap to the downside, vast gap to the downside, is the way that we're actually looking at a potential bullish divergence situation. So lower lows for the end of March versus the beginning of March, and then the break of that trend line there from February that was broken at around $5.15, and while we're above that on an end of day close basis, looking for a retest of the mid-March peak for the shares of APRE at $6.50 plus. That rising RSI support line there suggesting that there is momentum, or momentum could build for the situation, and hence the inclusion today. But decent risk reward in the sense that at least while we're above the low $5 area, we are looking towards $6.50, so that might be appealing to some. The most famous stock of the selection today is Blink Charging, if I can type it out correctly. Here you'll see that shares have rehabilitated themselves after some time in the wilderness, which was basically during the late January to early March period. Situation now is that we've made a decent break above the 50-day moving average and above that January resistance line at $41.90. While we're above that level on an end-of-day close basis, looking for at least a retest of January resistance through $60 up to $64.50 as a potential target there, and that could be seen as soon as the end of next month. But encouraging stuff there at Blink. On to a stock which is probably more famous for its ticker code than its actual company name, Auris Medical Holdings, or Holding rather. Here we've broken above the 50-day moving average and also that resistance line there from last month. That suggests that while there's no end-of-day close back below the 50-day line at $3.53, we're looking at a retest of last month's resistance at $6.25, and that could be seen as soon as the end of May, so the end of next month. Stock which is certainly rather obscure as far as our knowledge is concerned here, Rice Acquisition Core, and here it's interesting, or will be interesting to see whether we can get a decent end-of-day close or a weekly close above the old January intraday resistance at $14.08. The upside argument depends on that really, because above that we're looking towards a December resistance line projection currently promising a target as high as $20 as soon as the end of next month. Moving along, and a stock which is again a relatively rare flyer as far as the selection here is concerned, Star Peak Energy Transition. Not a great end to the bull run that we had in February, as we had an island top, one of the more bearish setups, and it did actually deliver downside for the shares. Current situation is that we're looking for an end of day close above Recent neckline resistance $29.33, the level or the zone in question, and while we're above that on an end of day close basis, looking for at least a retest of last month's resistance at $36 plus over the course of the rest of April. Clearly back below the $29 area, $29.10, and below that would delay the upside scenario. But there is an argument for suggesting that we could actually see a retest of the best levels of the year to date through $50 over the next couple of months. So it looks as though the shares have managed to find stability and new support at what was formerly resistance at the end of last month. Just a few stocks to go now. The first one being one that again is relatively unfamiliar. Here we're looking at the following stock, which is Silvergate. You can see here that the shares have been building up quite nicely. The rising trend channel there from back in September, and all we're really waiting for now is to see whether the shares can break a downtrend line from February. That's currently running through the $160 area. So an end of day close or weekly close above $160 could take the shares up to an implied target at that 2020 resistance line projection as high as $240 by the end of next month. So looking pretty exciting for Silvergate on the daily chart there, and we would hope for a repeat of the January to mid-February rally in some time over the rest of April or going into May. Onto a stock which again is a newbie, relatively speaking. We got up Fintech. Here it's a decent setup in the sense that we can see a break of that resistance line there from February. That was around the $17.50 level, so above $17.50, looking for the 50-day moving average, $22.20 plus, and then up to $24 perhaps by the end of this month as a best case scenario target. The upside value while we hold above the $16.20 zone, which has been the bottom of the recent bull flag or reversal flag that we've got there. Three stocks left, and the first one is coming up, if I can type it out correctly. Here we've got VeriCity. We've got the situation here that the shares gapped up massively, looking for support primarily around the old May resistance around the $14 area, but it's more likely that we'll probably come back to test the old March resistance just shy of $11. So above $11 on an end of day close basis, still looking for a retest and a potential journey towards $20 plus by the end of next month, but early days yet, so let's see how it pans out over the next few sessions. Going on to stock which is arguably one of the better stocks or situations of the day. We've got a falling wedge set up here, breaking the $8 level earlier in this session, and while we're above $8 on an end of day close basis, looking for $10 plus over the next couple of weeks, which is mid-March resistance for Vision Marine Tech. The last stock of the day, maybe the more the easiest stock of the day in the sense that it may be something that the risk reward looks attractive to people. Rising trend channel on the daily chart for YTRA online from back in June. Floor of the channel currently at $2.35, and above that looking for $3.60 by the end of this month at the top of last year's trend channel. That's it for me today. More updates tomorrow.